Alright, so we are going to get started, and I'm sorry about this glare, on our 2-point perspective. So, when we're studying this for a project, we're actually going to come in, and remember we are working landscape, so we're working long ways, not portrait. We're working landscape. And this isn't that final product, this is like your sketch. So I'm actually going to turn it portrait so I can draw my line. Remember, I don't want to cross over the ruler with my hand. I want to stay on the side that I write with. So I'm right-handed, so I stay on the right side. I line the bottom edge of my ruler, the bottom of my ruler up with the edge of my paper for any vertical and horizontal lines. So this line that I just drew is my horizon line. So when we were doing the cubes, so when we did these in class, we put our vanishing points on the very end. You could still do that for your final, or you could put little flaps on, little wings on your paper, put them further off, or your other option, and I'm trying this for the first time, so it might not turn out right. If you don't notice, I also put my horizon line a little bit higher than the middle of the paper. It's just because that's how I wanted it today. So I'm going to come in. I'm actually going to put mine one right here and one right here. So this is going to be my V1, vanishing point 1, and V2, vanishing point 2. So I've never done mine this way, so we're going to see how this works. I'm going to take my ruler. I am going to want a road to come to about here. And I don't want these to meet a little bit. There we go. I did leave a little. I don't like how much. Hold on. This is why we draw lightly, so if we don't like something, we can erase. Okay? So, remember, there are sidewalks, so we don't want to necessarily go right up on it for a building. So I'm actually going to put my first building right here. I'm going to come in, line up with the edge of the paper, and I'm going to draw to about there. That's going to be as tall as my first building is. I'm going to come in, line this up with V1, vanishing point 1, and I can draw a line all the way if I want to. You don't necessarily need to if you know how wide you want it, but that's fine. Just make sure you draw lightly so you can erase. And then I'm going to lead the same line back to V2, just like we did for the cubes, the floating cubes, okay? It means we're going to take the top, lead it to V2, lead it to V1. And that is totally off. Draw light enough to erase. So now I can decide how wide I want that building to be. I'm going to come in. I want my building to be about that wide. So I'm going to line up with the edge of the paper and draw my vertical line. Decide I want it this wide, line up with the edge of my paper, draw my vertical line. This is the same process we did when drawing this cube. That means our next step is going to be to take from the top where these two lines meet and lead it to V2. And to take from the top of this one where these two meet and lead it to V1. So that is the first building. Now, I might want to leave this line here, and that's okay, but what I want to do is come in and erase these extra lines. Gotta be careful doing this because I don't want to accidentally erase something that I need. So that would be the first building. Now, that might look a little weird because it looks very long. Part of that is because of where these are. So we wouldn't come in and correct it because this is technically correct. It's just the angle we're at. And that happens. So if this is looking a little weird to you, you might not want to have these there. Now I'm going to pause, get a new paper, and I'll show you with it further out. Okay, option 2 is to get a piece of paper, make these like wings. And we can line them up roughly. Take some paper, or some tape, and tape our wings down. We just put the tape on this side because if we need to move them, it makes it a little easier to move them. If you end up using wings on your final, it's going to be a different paper from the final itself. Alright, so now here's the tricky part. I can't guarantee these are straight. So what I have to do is take my ruler, line it up with the original paper, and draw my horizon line to that point. Now, keeping my ruler lined up with the horizon line that I've drawn, I'm going to come in and go to the edge like that. So, now I have my horizon line. I'm going to actually flip this because I want my horizon line a little bit lower this time. I'm going to put my vanishing point over here on this wing, V1. And then I'm going to come over to this wing and put V2, my second vanishing point. Now, I'm going to come in, kind of like how I did before, from V1, draw outwards from it. V2, draw outwards from it. And that's okay. I just erased what I didn't want. So now, I'm actually going to come up a little bit, leave a little bit of room between what will kind of be my sidewalk later, and that. And I'm going to come up just a little bit from that, so if I need to line it up, be like, okay, there. That's where I want to start my first. So I'm going to come in, and I'm going to go a little bit above the horizon line this time. And just like the other one, lead the top back to V1 and the bottom back to V1. And then lead the top and bottom back to V. You can't see through me. Okay. I'm also going to, like I said, I'm lining up with V2, lining up with that line. Lining up V2 in the top of that line. And then I'm going to decide how wide I want this building to be. I actually want the storefront to be a little, this might be the side of the building. I want it to be a little bit thinner, and I'm going to thicken up this side of it. Let's see if I can brighten that up just a little. Okay. So, lining up with the edge of my paper, drawing my line to there. And now, because this building is above my horizon line, that's it. I don't see the top of my building. So that is it. I would come in, erase the horizon line that's going through the building, and then honestly, I would come in, erase this part of the line. And that gives us our first building. So then from there, what you do is you kind of repeat the same process. Imagine this is line 1, this as line 2, 3, 4, 5. There are more. You shouldn't need to redo this one right now because we already have the baseline for all of them. That's why I didn't erase that at all. So what we do is we come in, start a little ways away from the first building because you don't want them right up on each other. And then I'm going to make this building shorter. So I'm actually going to stop it here. So just like that building, if that's our line 1, line 2 means that the top line is going to lead to V1. And I'm actually going to stop it right there. So I lined up with V1, But instead of drawing my line the whole way, I just stopped it because you can't see through a building. And then I'm going to take that same line up with V2. If you want to draw it all the way, you can. Alright. Now, that is not all. So that was line 1, 2, 3. We do not see line 4 because it's behind the first building. That means we skipped line 5. We're deciding how wide we want this building to be. I'm going to put it here. This is line 5. It goes down. Okay. Now, this is where it gets trickier because this is below the horizon line. So we will see part of the top of this building. You're going to take from here, from the top, where the line 3 and 5 meet, and you're going to line up with V1 and draw to the building. And that's it. We do have one more line to do, which is at the bottom of line 1. You put your line here, you dot your pencil here, you line up with V1, and you stop at that building. Because if you don't put that, it kind of looks like your building's falling. And then you can come in and erase that line. And then you would do almost the same thing over here. Come in, leave some space. I want this one to be taller. Oh, that looks a little crooked. Yeah, it was. Give me a moment. So, you're going to line up, draw it to where you want it. And then, so that's your line 1 for this building. Line 2 and 3 next. That means the top goes to V1 and V2. V1. V2. This doesn't intersect anything, so I went ahead and drew it all the way. Now, I need to decide how wide I want this building. I want this one to be a little wider, like this. Line up with that bottom of the paper, draw to there. Now, unlike this one where it was shorter than this building, so I couldn't see that part of the building, I can see part of this building because it's taller than this one. So I need to decide how wide this is going to be. I think I'm going to make it stop here. So I'm going to line up and just draw to the top of that building and stop. Now, just like with this building, I'm going to come in, erase the horizon line. Then erase these lines. I don't care what's on the wing because the wings are going to be hidden later anyways. And then you would come in just like this building, line this up, take the bottom of line 1, line it up with V2, and leave it to V2 stopping at that building. So the difference was is that because this one is on the right side, it's leading to V1, and then since this one's on the left, it leads to V2. All right, there will be more in the second video to come.